Hey, what's going on, friends? Jason here with Love Local Chicagoland Podcast and Love Local Media. And I'm here with my sidekick, Miss Monica Larocco McVeigh.
A lot of last names.
Yeah, a lot of last names. But you're kind of cool, though, so it's okay. You got as many last names as you want. I heard, people that are really cool have numerous last names.
Oh, is that right? I'll just have a collection. Is that what?
Yeah, do what you got to do. Yeah. Whatever's comfortable for you. But, guys, we're excited to be here today. We decided we're on episode 3 of this Love Local Chicagoland podcast, and we decided to make this podcast to be able to spread messages and to be able to get good vibes out into the community about things that could have a positive impact on our community. Life's hard, and there's a lot of things that are thrown to each of us every day, and all of our perspectives are different within that, but the goal of this show is to bring awareness to things that matter and that could help people grow and do life and to know that they're not alone. So today we're going to be here with AJ and with Gabi from National Hispanic Suicide Prevention Network. We got the opportunity to meet them probably about a year ago now, and their passion for what they do and for the people that they serve is, to me, one of their greatest strengths. Their goal with all this is to be able to spread awareness about mental health and to be able to talk to people and to make sure people understand that they know that they're not alone and that together we can get through anything. What are you thinking about this show today? Yeah.
Listen, I'm ready for this conversation. I wore these glasses today on purpose because I know that it's an emotional topic. It's a hard one. But my God, these two have brought so much light to this topic in general and to people who are going through such a dark time that I know I speak for both of us when I say we're just honored to have them here. So
yeah, definitely honored. You know, we were talking about the prep for this show and what type of messaging we wanted to be able to get across when we were talking to Gabi and AJ. And the hope after darkness is really where we're going with this show. And the goal of that is we're going to do some real talk. Life's hard, and mental health, there's a lot of stigmas around that. And we're going to break those stigmas down today, and we're going to get real. But before we go too much further, I want to introduce both of them because they're pretty amazing people.
Yes.
First person I'll introduce is Gabi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm in awe of all the wonderful things you guys are saying, but like you said, let's break down stigma, and thank you for having us and allowing us to share the message and our story with the community.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Thank you.
AJ, what's up, brother?
Not much right now, just chilling and super happy to be here. Just love the vibe. Thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to share this message. Any opportunity we get is one that helps somebody, even if it's one person. That's all that matters. So thank you again. And I'm just super happy to have a real conversation about it, because that's what we always promote, right, is having a real conversation about this, not pushing aside what it is or what you feel when these things come up. So thank you again. I'm just super happy.
I love the way that you said that. Yeah, we're ready to dive into this conversation. Before we get too deep into the conversation, we get to talk about some local faves, right?
Yeah.
Right? Larocco McVeigh?
That's right, Stalin. So, yeah, we love to talk about, local stomping grounds. What is everybody's got their favorites, right? So what are your favorites? Where do you like to go that's local?
Mm-hmm.
Is it, you want to start or me?
Go ahead.
I'll go, because I'm super passionate about Joy Teriyaki. It's actually in Hoffman Estates, really close by. We had talked about it before. I tell Gabi about it. I had preached her before she went. I was like, you got to go. This place is the best. I don't know, their teriyaki sauce, there's something in it that is just magical. It's so delicious. Their chicken is cooked well. Their rice is super sticky. Just, I don't know. You guys have to go. It's
many good things about them, right?
It's like a childhood
Gabi
favorite.
actually texts. It's weird because he left AJ up. She was saying you're going to get us all lunch today.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at the time.
He made it out. He was like,
I will.
his mouth was watering.
You get excited when you're talking.
I'll bring it.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize, but it's so good, and I've known them since I was in elementary school. I want to say second grade. I can just remember going to Joy Teriyaki when they were in Bloomingdale, and then Aldi's bought out their space there because they were expanding, and then they got pushed to Hoffman Estates, and I will travel for this place. I don't mind. So that's where I would go.
I can't wait to have it. I haven't tried it yet, but now after your testimonial, so I think they should be paying you, by the way.
Yeah, honestly, I think so.
At least with some free teriyaki.
You should have the logo right here.
Right. He says travel like on foot and everything.
I'll walk. I'll run over there if I have to.
I love it. How about you, Gabi?
Funny. Well, I love Mexican food, but it's really hard to top off what I can cook at home. And I love cooking, so I would say...
So we got lunch covered, and then we're coming to your house for dinner.
Yes,
cool.
absolutely.
Right.
I just recently moved back to Palatine, where I grew up in, so it's kind of been fun to check out the restaurants in the area. But after Mexican food, I love Asian food, and so I would say Ramen House in Palatine on Plum Grove Road is amazing. Like AJ said, all their food is amazing. I love... obviously the ramen, and they have fabulous fried rice, so I'm going to go with Ramen House in Palatine.
Nice.
Yes.
I'm going to have to check that place out. I live in Palatine as well, and I've never been there, and I'm ashamed to say that, but it's real. But now I'm going to have two places to check out.
Yes,
so thank
their
you guys.
pot stickers are amazing, all of it.
I'm getting hungry.
And it's like a small little place, like mom and pop shop, and it's funny because we were like
our favorite.
The people cooking are Mexicans.
In the back.
So like in the back, and they see us and say hi. So it's really nice. A really nice family friendly environment.
Cool.
So we're gonna do mukbang now, right? That's gonna be the next segment. All right, bring out the food.
Yeah, there you go.
If you could do the reviews on it, that would be pretty awesome.
That would be the best job in the world.
Yeah.
So here with Love Local, we believe that we're stronger together as community members. And like I said earlier, it's a big reason why we started this podcast, is just to get to do some real talk about and to be able to interview and to help amplify the voices of the people that are doing real work with a boots on the ground approach in our community. Y'all are doing that. I've seen you do that over and over again over this last year. But I want to introduce you to our audience. Just tell us a little bit about you guys, about yourself, whatever you want to share. Just dive right in.
I can go first again. I don't mind. I haven't been doing this.
You want to go first so you can get out of here to go to lunch, man. All right.
Joy Teriyaki is calling my name. But I haven't done this work as long as Gabi has done this work, I would say. Like, it's something that I've always been passionate about, in the sense, like, I love helping people. Like, superheroes, I was born on National Superhero Day. Superheroes are my thing. Like, I love helping people. I love the idea of getting people to a better place than they were before. So that was always what I was into. But my struggle was I dealt with depression and anxiety since I was young. Social anxiety has been a key component in my struggles in life, is like not wanting to go out, not wanting to be social, or just in front of people, fearing that somebody laughing they're making fun of me. They probably don't even know me. They don't even know I'm there right now. But that laughter or that paranoia in my head just wouldn't allow me to feel comfortable around people. So for a long time, I was finding ways to cope, not always the healthiest ways. But I want to say in 2020, after COVID hit, I spiraled, and my mom gave me the opportunity to speak with Gabi, and I spoke to her, and I joined this beautiful support group called Poema. And from there, I just was enamored by this community, enamored by just the vulnerability of it, that it pushed me to get into the work, and I started doing this, and now this is something that's a part of me. Poema grew NHSPN, which I'm happy to say I'm a co-founder of. Never thought I would do that in a million years.
Wow.
Never thought I'd be out of my room in a million years, honestly. So, and from there, even just besides joining mental health work, I've explored myself in a greater way ever since, like, doing the support group and finding a healthier way to cope. Started getting on medication. I'm not on medication anymore, but it did help a lot to allow me to do things that I never thought I could. Like, I make music now. I love music. I always wanted to, like, rap, and I never had the confidence to before, and then all of a sudden just put out my music. So now it's out on SoundCloud. I do that on part-time. I'm writing a comic book. Never thought I would do that.
Wow.
So I'm going to ECC as well, online classes. I was never really confident because I have to like take class by class, not like the full-time schedule, but I've realized that that's okay. You know, I'm just doing it the way that I need to do it, and I know that I can do it to the best of my ability. And I just doing this work, and I always thank Gabi for all the amazing work that she helped me with, that I'm able to. I want to give her that back to people, and I'm doing so much things in my life that I never expected to do. And I want to offer that to other people. So.
You're still young, man, which makes me feel really old. We're not going to say your age, but he's young, guys. Yeah. You're wise beyond your years, because when I was your age, I was not doing anything productive, I'm pretty sure. But thanks for sharing, man. I love how, we talked about this before, and you both have this in you. You took your struggle, and you decided to, instead of just to struggle with it, you decided to take that struggle, to overcome that struggle, and to help other people, which, Gabi, you're going to tell your story in a second, but that's you too. But go ahead.
AJ, I just have to say, like, the joy in just your expression when you talk about these things that you're doing is so contagious. It really, truly is. It's like, I think about, like, the human opportunity that we have. Like, we're all just a bunch of spirits housed in a body. And so this human opportunity could take us on a number of different, directions. And the fact that you have been in that dark place and have found new ways to use this, like, human opportunity to find joy and to spread that joy to others. Oh, what a beautiful.
Thank you.
What a beautiful
I'd like to add, though, when you said that I utilize that darkness, it's literally what my rap name is. My rap name is Lousy, just to play off the fact of what got me to rap, is feeling lousy. Yeah. So I'm just going to utilize that and utilize the negativity and just turn it into something positive.
And how relatable that is to other people, right? Like, kids that are going through tough times, to be able to identify with that name and go like, yeah, I feel that way too. But you're gonna take them and go, yeah, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna be all right.
That's the plan.
Yeah, man, I love it.
Love it, Gabi. Let's hear about you.
Well, I'm so proud of AJ. I want to say that too, and I'm just so grateful that he rolls with the punches. And the other day, my mom was telling me something like, sometimes you have to take the bull by the horns. And I understood what she meant, and that's what we do, take the bull by the horns, because in some sort of way, I know people did that for me as an adult, but I wish someone had done that for me when I was younger, like in high school, A little bit about me, I immigrated from Zacatecas, Mexico to Palatine. We immigrated to a church, so we lived in a bedroom with two other families, and church service was held in the basement. So my upbringing is in church. We literally lived in church, and I've shared this before. I didn't know I was undocumented till my freshman year of high school. So I understand why my parents really were embraced by this community of church. So, growing up in a faith-based family and not really ever talking about mental health. I dealt with a lot of struggles that a lot of immigrants deal with. My mom says I learned English really fast, but I remember that being like so horrible of an experience for me, not knowing English and just really struggling with anxiety that now I can, now I have a label for what I was dealing with since a little girl, picking the side of my hair because I was so nervous and anxious to go into a classroom where I did not understand anything at all. So like AJ is like, coming out of the darkness, like we were saying, in a lot of ways. I graduated from FREMD and I had my son my senior year of high school. So I became a mom at a very young age and just, leaving my house at 18 years old with a baby and just really going through a lot, and I almost took my life. And I would say a lot of times I would, like AJ was saying, self-medicating, that I'm just surprised that I wasn't dead by that time already, And so for me, doing this work is just an opportunity to really change the generations to come and really impact families. And like I was sharing with AJ, I don't realize it sometimes, but as a suicide loss survivor, how alone it felt for our family in some way as well. How many families continue with these, struggles because we don't talk about these issues. And so I have been volunteering for suicide prevention work since 2018 at the hospital that I used to work at. And, even now, starting off NHSPN, I think back and I'm like, whoever told me that I could do this? It's been so hard, but I really believe we're chosen for something, but it also takes us to choose ourselves and believe in ourselves and say, my story has a purpose and I can help someone else. So my passion for doing this work comes from that experience, from, you know, knowing what it's like to be seconds away from taking my life. And it would have been with my kids, because I was gonna take my life with them, because I felt like that was my way out of this hopelessness and struggle in this world. And so to be here today, I really just am so grateful for so many people that I think back on, like even strangers at the store, that made a difference in my life.
Yeah.
To think that, like, right now there could be somebody going through what you experienced back then, to know that, like, you have two beautiful examples of people who have been there and who can relate and who know that there is hope. There's hope after the darkness.
Yeah, one of there's many things that I love about you guys, but your ability and willingness to be vulnerable and real. It's to me, it's courageous, and it's something that I feel like more of us need to continue to be able to do, especially as we get older, because life is, I'm gonna say it, fucking hard. And it's harder for some than it is for others, and there's no two that are alike, and you shouldn't compare the two by any means, but life is hard. So I think about, like, kind of going back to what you said about the social anxiety, like, people wouldn't think that about me, but oh my God, like, the things I've had to, like, work through for that, and because of my faith, because of people like you, both of you, like, just being real, like, oh, I'm not alone, like, I can overcome this. I could speak in front of people. I could talk. I can do this, and it's not a quick fix. It is a journey within, to be able to get there. But to be able to provide, and to be able to be real about that, I think is something that we all need to be able to do more to help that next generation. You know, nothing against the generation beforehand. Yeah. But there was this stigma around mental health that you just kept it inside.
Yes.
And you didn't talk about it, and you didn't, you just kept it in, and you were going to be a tough man, and you were going to, you know, put up your pants and whatever the heck they said. I don't even remember what they said. I wasn't even listening.
Pick up
about that piece, because I was an emotional, I think at Myers-Briggs, I'm an INFP, so I'm an emotional human being. I needed to learn how to process those emotions and to be able to identify those emotions. Well, that's really hard if you don't have people around you to be able to help translate that or work with that.
Especially if you wear your heart on your sleeve. Like, I think we both do. I think most of us in this room right now wear our heart on our sleeve.
All four of us, I could say that.
So that's the hardest part.
Me and her cry like once a week.
Oh, my God.
I'm good right now, but keep it close.
I might not be crying right now, too, but I do cry a lot, too.
Yeah.
I have that in me.
Okay.
Like, it's just like something happy, even if it's nothing negative. Like, I'm overly excited about something. The tears will just start flowing, and that's something that I had to realize was okay to be. Like, you're talking about the whole men thing. Like, you got to pick yourself up by your bootstraps, be tough, not cry.
That was to women too, right? I'm guessing it was to women. I'm not, but it was there. It was
but
just
that standard of like, you have to be like that socially throughout all of society. Like, no matter where you are, you can only really cry by yourself, and even then, you're probably gonna hate yourself later in the day for like, why did I cry? I'm not a man. Like, that was really hard for me. And that's something that I think I really want to teach men to unlearn.
Totally. Self-doubt is within that. Yep. You don't believe in yourself. You think something's
wrong.
Yeah.
You don't think you're normal.
It's just like, humans are emotional. We're sinners and we're emotional. We know these things, right? So to be able to work through that, and if somebody's going through it now, like, give yourselves grace throughout that.
Yes.
If it's okay that I interject on my experience growing up in church, if you were sad, if you were like down, if you were struggling, it was always that, like, well, what are you doing wrong? Are you like sin? Are you in sin? Or God must be mad at you. Like, so
which is more shame and more self-doubt, right?
So there was that shame of like not asking for help when you needed help, and not being vulnerable because you don't want to confess to the world and then be looked at differently. So I think even in churches, which is
some churches, not all, but for sure.
All churches, I was going to say, are a protective factor in some sort of way to the community they serve. And so, like, what we were saying is if we're able to just normalize these conversations and normalize that we're all human beings, that we can struggle no matter where it can be, what kind of community, within a school system, within the corporate world and churches, it would really make a difference for people to open up and ask for help.
Totally.
Because there is help out there. I think there's that big, shame and fear of getting the help.
Yeah, failure is a part of success.
Yeah, even for first responders or people that like don't want to be seen as weak. When you ask for help, then it's even like going to your HR and saying like, what help do I have? That's even like I think there's so much stigma with reaching out for the professional help.
There's a freeness that comes to it once you get to that point, right?
Yeah.
It allows you to. Look, I got work to do, but it's here, but I'm gonna be okay, and I'm gonna do that. But you're right. It's churches and there's other places. There's that stigma that's there, but it's 100% in churches, just like anything else. Nothing is perfect in this life, but real talk should be a part of what we do in any of our settings, whether it's a church, whether it's in a podcast. Let's get real about what we're going through, and my hope, like by being real within this generation, we can uplift our kids, because we don't want them to experience things. We want them to grow and to help other people continue to flourish and to rise. So loving this conversation and where we're going. When we sat down on our Zoom call to be able to prep for this, we were like, what's the topic? And Monica didn't even get that like topic out, and Gabi, you were like, hope after the darkness. Where go into like what's your mindset behind that, and why do you think it's so important?
Yeah, so one of the awareness pieces that I think a lot of people need to know about is spring is the time when there are the most suicides. So suicides triple between April through June. So Hope After the Darkness kind of reminds us that even after darkness, there is still the opportunity, like you said, to be better and, support each other and grow, together as a community. And so it's
a journey for sure.
It's a journey, yeah. And for me, dealing with depression and just so many things in my life at one point, the darkest, like the nighttime was the hardest to get through. Like I was just hoping for the sunrise to come up, for me to start, seeing the light outside, because I was scared of what I could do in the darkness, because I felt alone, and I used to work at the hospital as an interpreter during the night shift. So when I was at work, I was fine. But when my days off that I was home alone, like I was scared of what I would start thinking and ruminating and self-sabotaging about what I was going through. And you don't typically want to reach out to someone at 1 o'clock in the morning to ask for help and support. And so that changed my life when I had a therapist that actually did that for me. There was times that I would text her at night because I was, thinking things that I didn't want to think, and she would send me like lullabies, like little baby lullabies to help me go back to sleep. So just, again, waking up the next day and realizing that there is hope and that you can be grateful for life that is a gift. It really is different when you're struggling.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you mentioned about that hesitation that you had, because I think that so many people have that hesitation to get help. And and I know, certainly it's something that, I've experienced, but I've also experienced conversations with other people where they're saying like, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a burden to you. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, I am here. I am your friend. I am your family. I am whatever it is, whatever the role is. It's like, I'm here.
Yes.
And I feel like you guys have, through NHSPN, have created an opportunity for people to know you're not a burden.
Yes.
Yeah.
That your needs are not a burden. I mean,
Why do you, and I have my thoughts too, but why do you think that we feel that way as humans? Like, where does that come from? What emotion? What mindsets? Is our past? Is it just how we're made up? Like, what's
I would say our environment.
Yeah.
We're a product of our environment. And
I agree with that.
Vulnerable piece. When I grew up in church, my dad was a pastor. I used to play the drum set for our youth group. So being pregnant, unwed, there was a lot of shame, you know. So I left my household with a lot of shame. And so anytime I ever needed help, I was like, well, I don't want to reach out for help because I'm already like a burden.
You don't like want people to know, right? Yeah.
So I isolated myself a lot, you know, and you know, I just wanted, it's not that I wanted to be alone. I just felt like you were saying, like guilty for reaching out. Like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna worry my parents again, you know. And there was always that like inner, and I think I lived by this, like I want to not give up. Like I'm still gonna keep trying, even no matter what, because I want my kids to be proud.
Yeah.
You know, I want my kids to know that no matter what you've done in the past, like your story still can be different. Like changing the narrative takes a lot of courage, you know. So for me, it was
and
that.
it's hard.
Very hard.
Yeah, so a lot of like the societal judgment that I felt, and like AJ was saying, maybe they didn't feel like that. And I can guarantee you, my mom always says, we love you, we're here for you. But internally, I felt like a burden.
Yeah, it's your actions. And I greatly think it's society, how we've set up, how we're supposed to be, quote unquote. Like if you see a child, right, they ask for help. They're not fearful to be like, more and more, I need help, right? Like, that's
so you get to a certain age,
you get to
and
a
then
certain age.
the real world starts to chisel you in a different way, and almost it hardens you in a different way.
You start getting told if you ask for help, if you need help on this, it makes you less than. Especially as men, it makes you less than. Like, you know how many times I've wanted to ask for help? Even now, even me doing mental health work, knowing the difference, knowing what's better to ask for help than to not, there's still that fighting inside of me of like, if I ask for help, I am weak. I suck. I'm not going to be able to love myself because I didn't do it myself. Yeah. And that's not smart. That's kind of dumb, for lack of a better term, because like we're a communal species. The whole reason we are in this room right now is because we decided to come together, create a society, set laws in place to better each other, and that's why we're here. Yeah. If I'm going to do it by myself, it's totally going against what propped us up as the number one species on this planet. And it just shows me that it is societal, that it is something that we've created for thinking that it's the betterment of us all, right? Saying that men have to be like this, women have to be like this, a person has to be like this, was something that we thought was good in the past, but we have to change, like we change everything else, right? We just need to move forward and understand that it's okay to ask for help.
Learn and grow from it, right? Information is a commodity now. We have as much information, and we could learn as much as we want to give energy towards that.
And that's the hard part about it, too.
So we can grow, right? And that's hard on a different side of it. But the
duality of it.
To me, it's I remember going through low parts of my life, and it was like a 40 mark. You know, it sounds weird and almost like it's hard to say because I'm like 42 now, but it was up to like 40 where like life was hard for me. And it was in my 30s I really struggled because I wasn't happy with like who I was. I wasn't happy with like who I could talk to, who I could grow with, and then like had to be a God thing. Like all of a sudden, just people came around me and were like allowed me to talk and to be like, well, what are you feeling? What are you working through? And for me, it was faith, and faith, I think, and it to your point, not all religion is good, and not all and there's good and bad in everything, but to me, having faith and hope within that really helped me grow and helped me to believe that I'm supposed to be on this earth for a certain reason, and to like not be insecure about what I was feeling or what I was thinking or those types of things. But with that, it's, to me, it goes back, and you guys have said it a couple of times, like it's a village mindset. It's a community mindset. If I'm struggling and I could go, Gabi, I'm hurting today and I'm not in a good spot, Gabi has a choice, and obviously with her role, you know what choices she's going to make. But and for anybody, you could be like, oh, toughen up and go on, or you could be like, oh, like what's going on? Yep. And you could listen, and all of a sudden that listening and that conversation, that person could open up to you. Having that person to go to, or those people to go to, to me is like, that's something, if you don't have it, go search for that. Yes. Because that is like the magic sauce of like getting people around you that don't judge you, that will love you no matter what things you think you should be doing or whatever. They just love you because of the human being that you are and allow you to be yourself. But it's that it takes a village mindset or a community mindset. We have to jump in.
And it sounds like that's what you experienced a lot in a lot of ways with Poema.
Yep.
So do you want to speak a little bit to that and your connection and how you guys...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, tell us about
what's
that.
it called? So like I had mentioned before, dealing with depression and anxiety my whole life. Gabi had called me in 2019. She gave me a call because I was in California at the time. My mom had saw her get an award from the Northwest Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. She had gotten an award. I forget what the award was for, but it was something to do with mental health. So my mom, knowing my position in life at the time, struggling with depression and anxiety and the self-hatred and just all these things, she sent Gabi my way. Gabi gave me a call. It was cool. She told me to journal. I had expressed to her that I wanted to rap, that I liked rapping and writing. And I know she meant the best by it, but she had asked me, she was like, oh, do you ever think about anybody else reading your lyrics or reading them out to other people? I was like, this girl's trying to take my lyrics. This girl's trying to take my music. I said no, and I didn't talk to her for I think a year or something after that. I was like, Mom, who did you send?
That's the first time I heard that.
You're sending spies. You're sending spies after me.
Sending spies.
But I didn't talk to her for a year. There had some turmoil in California in my life, family issues and some personal things, and I felt like I really wanted to come back to Illinois. And 2019 was the perfect time. I went back, went to the College of DuPage, started feeling like, all right, cool, I'm going to start building relationships here and getting my own footing. COVID hits. We get all locked in. I have no friends out here. Everybody that was my friends and that I knew and had fun with were all in California at the time. So I just felt super alone. My mom mentioned Gabi again. Said I'll give the stealing lyrics lady a chance again. I hit her up. She told me about the support group that she had, and I joined it. And the rest is history. Like, just seeing so many people be vulnerable, like we were talking about. They weren't the same as me. They didn't write raps. They weren't my age, whatever. But that
they weren't trying to steal me either.
Yeah, they weren't trying to steal my music though. That was
even
the
though
most
I did when
important part.
I walked in and Gabi was in front of the mirror and she was like. She's like,
Yes,
there's
that
a
was
beatbox
like-
going
Exactly.
on. So I mean, to just
I always knew it.
That's all.
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
But it was like, just again, the group of people being vulnerable, sharing about where they came from. It didn't matter if it was similar. The only similarity we had is that we were all struggling and that we all wanted to get somewhere better together.
Boom.
And for me, that was just
It's that
something.
village.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was that village thing. And for me, that was something so powerful that it pushed me to do this work. And now here we are with the National Hispanic Suicide Prevention Network. And we've helped so many people along the way that I didn't even imagine this happening. So that's why I speak highly of community. Doesn't matter how much in common you think you have with somebody. We all have something in
And
common.
you'd be surprised once you really talk to
Exactly.
people.
So
You're
I-
probably not that different.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about humans. Is like we might be different in like the aesthetic level and other areas, but overall, we all have a passion for something. We all hate something. We all love something. We all feel something. And that's, I think, the key component to, growing together. Is just understanding that we're all in that same position. It might not be the same things we feel, but it doesn't have to be. You can just express
Definitely.
that
Yeah.
feeling. And I think that connection, for me, just made me super excited to express what I went through to hopefully change somebody like it changed me.
That's beautiful. Gabi, your story from Poema is a little bit different. So let's talk about, like, where did Poema Studio come from and how did it originate?
Yeah, so we have to go a little bit back to, again, I started this work at the hospital that I worked at. So I did an awareness walk, and then from there, I decided that I wanted to get more education on how to support survivors. So I became a suicide grief support specialist. And so we started a group of support at the hospital. And Jim Hollick, shout out to Jim, he's our art instructor. He came up to me one day and he's like, hey, I saw on Facebook that you're doing this work and I would love to volunteer to help out. If you ever need volunteers? And so I was like, what do you do? And he's like, I'm a retired art teacher. And I was like, okay, well, I'll let you know. But nothing crossed my mind. I wasn't doing anything with art. And so a couple months after that, a mom who had lost her son to suicide reached out and she wanted to share his story. And so I met with Kelly, Jordan's mom, and I'm so grateful to them for also letting me share his story. And one of the things that I feel like happens a lot after a suicide is we focus a lot on the type of death it is than the person that we lost. And so I was like, well, tell me more about Jordan. Who, like, you know, what kind of person was he? And she said, he was an artist. And so I right away called Jim and I was like, Jim, I met this family. Can we have like a painting event at the hospital and share these stories? And so Kathy from Pino's Palette in South Barrington, I call her my art therapy godmother. She donated easels and we had this event both in English and Spanish with families painting for, you know, like coming together, talking about grief and all that. So that kind of, you know, brought us together. And then, like AJ said, COVID hit. So we were no longer able to host that group in the hospital. And so I was like, well, I would like to open up a space. And I came up with the name Poema because it derives from Ephesians 2:10 in the Bible that says we are God's masterpiece. And that really poured into my heart to remind me that no matter what had happened in my past, like I could still paint over this canvas.
Yeah.
You know, I could still make this art beautiful. So Poema means masterpiece of art. And so a day before I was gonna sign the lease for a studio in Fox River Grove, they shut down everything. Like the village was closed and I didn't give them my lease. So thank God, because I would have had a lease for 2 years. So here I am, you know, again, working from home in some sort of way. On this, apart from working from home as an interpreter, really dealing with so many calls. I was taking an average of 780 video calls a month. And so at the same time, I was like, well, what do I do? Because I had already families that I was supporting. So I'm like, let's turn this group into a virtual support group. But that was really hard, you know, because it was hard to, back then we were just learning about Zoom and virtual stuff. So suicide grief on
real
Zoom.
talk on Zoom doesn't
Yeah.
sound like fun.
So
Especially with people you don't like, you're not tight with. Like,
Yeah.
Sorry.
So AJ reached out to me and I was like, what do I do? Like, how can I support him? We're all like not able to meet. So I'm like, let's just transition this group into a mental wellness support group and let's call it Poema Support Group. And so we started meeting virtually. At one point we had about 17 people from other parts of the U.S. Joining this call. And then a pastor invited us to right as things were opening up, invited us to share a loft that he had. And so we're all in the support group. We're all realizing breakthroughs happening. We're talking about topics that really matter. And so the group, some of the guys are like, why don't we turn this into something more like a podcast so we could talk about this? And one day we're setting up.
I love your stage. Sorry, I totally cut you off, but yeah. Go.
This is before we had Poema. So we're in this loft and we're setting up, and the owner of this building comes and kicks us out. He's like, I don't know who you guys are. You guys have to leave. You have 5 minutes to like vacate the premises. And I was like shaking. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, we're here upstairs with this church. Like, we were just getting food and we're going to go upstairs. And he's like, you got to go. Shut all the lights off. And I was crying. I was like, I felt like Mother Goose. You know, I have all these guys, because mainly they were guys. I'm like, all these guys like coming to the circle, feeling in some sort of way in a safe space. And now we're being kicked out. And we walked across the street, and there was a for rent sign on this door, and I told the guys, I'm like, I am so sorry this is happening. This should never happen to anyone, and I promise God is going to give us a space, and it's going to be a miracle. And so long story short, a week and a half after, I had the keys to the studio, and how I got the studio and all that we would need like a couple of podcast sessions for that. But here we are with the space, you know, we were able to meet. We did a ribbon cutting on our own. We didn't know chambers existed.
That's what I'm talking about. Just make it happen.
Yeah, the mayor was there.
We went to Michael's.
Party.
We got a purple ribbon. We said, we're doing
This
this.
is it. Yeah.
And then later we
here.
found out, like, oh, we could have done it for you.
Yeah, well.
What the heck?
Hey, you live and learn.
Yeah. So we even laugh about it because at the beginning, Poema was like a hangout spot. We were just doing like these open mic nights, and
we didn't know what to do. Like, we went from support group to like now we have a space,
Yeah.
right? And it's like
Party.
Yeah. So at first it was bringing people, having fun, you know, talking about suicide and mental health, but it not being the main focus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then from there, I think the people that came in.
Yeah, but we still had a great space to meet with people in crisis. So we used to meet people down there. There was a time we had actually a high school friend of mine who reached out for help, and I took him to the hospital to get him admitted, and they released him within 10 minutes. So we had him for like 24 hours because he was withdrawing, and we called the pastor. We were like on post for 24 hours, just making sure that this guy was okay. And it was so sad to know how hard it was to get him into a program. It was like $21,000 up front if you wanted it like a full day, and $6,500 if it was
ridiculous. Sorry.
Yeah.
When you're talking about people's lives and you put that much money to it, something you go back to our society. There's something wrong with. There's issues within our current society. If people think that that's okay. Like, let's just take care of people.
Yes.
Let's take care of each other, and let's want people to experience joy. And when they're struggling, let's help uplift them, not put them in debt.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Well, we couldn't even get him anywhere because he had to give that money up front. So we were taking like crisis calls like that, and thank God, up to right now, I can tell you every person we've came across and supported, we have not had a loss. But it was like, just having a space where they could cry and they could talk about things, and then we can connect them to resources. That was really awesome. And so we started getting out in the community, and then I love to see the drum because I came across a drum circle on Instagram, and Verge, who's in Madison, he's our drumming circle mentor. He came to Illinois over the summer last year, and we started our drumming circle, Poema Drum Circle. Awesome. Again, things that were just like evolving, right? And so we, the drum circle, we play at the farmers market in Elgin, and we set out all the numbers of statistics, and people come and they're like, oh wow, and we started doing podcasts too, which is in a hiatus, but sharing people's stories. But really, I think internally and within my life personally, as I'm opening up the studio, I was dealing with, like you said, a lot of things too that were just coming back from resurfacing from my past, and Poema was that motivation for me. Like, even like recently that we were like, should we close it or should we keep it open? Because it took 10 months to get our permit from the city. And it's so hard because, the work that we do, we don't charge people. Like, it's not like we're making a profit, And so I was like, AJ, what do we do? Should we just close it? Maybe we could open later. But it was like, it had our heart, because we personally grew it within that studio. And we did, things that we did back then, we might not be doing now, but it was a safe space. Ultimately, it was a safe space where we've done painting events for, survivors. We've done other community connecting events. And so it was just really the safe space we personally needed, and also people that, were coming from inpatient programs as well that already had attempted, and like they're like, I don't want to go see a therapist. We have youth that like threaten their parents if they go back into the hospital, they're going to kill themselves. Yeah. And so Poema's been that safe space for us. And then, we were in the studio, we were getting a lot of asks about Spanish programming. And so that was kind of like my push. Okay, what am I doing? Why am I not doing more Spanish work? And so NHSPN was born at Poema. It was that one safe space that we were able to have as I would see like a lab, like a hidden underground lab. And we are in a basement, which I want to share about social anxiety. We have some people that come in through the back door. That's how paranoid they are about being seen. And so we're downstairs in the basement, and people love that we don't have like just random people looking in through windows. And that to me was interesting too, because I never had seen how much social anxiety was affecting people.
Yeah, I feel like it's very much a big part of our society, probably a lot to this, right? We're constantly, especially young kids and people, you constantly comparing it's yourself, and it's on crack with that. It's always been there. But I love you guys' like your grassroots. You started with the hope and the vision just to help people, and that has grown, and it will continue to grow. You guys do a lot of great work in the community. Talk about some of the specific things that you're doing to be able to help make a positive impact in people's lives.
Well, one of them is, as you see here, the mental health first aid training. Mm-hmm. It's like CPR for mental health. It's like, I would call it like therapy for yourself too, because when the training comes in, it's teaching you skills, right, of how to talk to the youth about struggling with mental health, drug addiction, things of that nature, as being clear about suicide. And for me and other people that I've seen taking the training, it's almost like a realization of your younger self too. It's like, wow, like you see all these signs and symptoms, and you're like, I went through that. Like, I was struggling with that. Like, wow, that's what that was. And it's just so eye-opening. So for me, that's one of my favorites is the training that we offer. We also offer like community presentations, which we have some from AFSP and other places. But I would say the training right now is my favorite because, again, it's like a 8-hour therapy session for everybody. It's helping you realize how to talk to the kids outside, to even adults outside, because we were all kids at some point, right? We were all that child deep down, and I think we all just kind of add to that child, and the base of who we are is that young kid. You know what I mean? And so for me,
and if you're not pausing and reflecting and searching to get back there, which is not an easy journey, but there was a book that was a part of my transformation. It was Scary Close by Donald Miller, and in that book he said, like, get back to your childhood self. And I remember I said that to one of my best friends, and he's also our pastor, but he was like, that's it, Jay, like, search for that dude. Like, he knew what he was doing, like, but the world clouds everything up on the way up. And it causes trauma within our lives, whether it's trauma as this big thing or whether it's small trauma pieces, but it shapes our mindsets, right? And shapes, and I wouldn't say it shapes our heart. I think our hearts are always the same, but it protects the heart, right? Because you, especially for us emotional human beings, but
I was just thinking too that, like, the fact that you guys are doing the mental health first aid, it has such an enormous impact because you're taking your knowledge and then giving it to other people. Because even me as a former teacher, there are things in that training I'm sure that I have, either need refreshers on or that I need to, like, just have awareness in general. Yeah. That may be something that I've overlooked in my adult life. I mean, I'm, pushing 50 here, guys.
What?
I mean,
what?
Right?
Say it again. The mics didn't work. Say it again.
I'm pushing 50.
I thought we were all under 30 here, guys.
I'm 27 for life, bro.
There you go.
Yeah, right. But that's it. It's like there are things about mental health first aid that maybe have been overlooked. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you're educating others, it's like it doesn't. I mean, whether someone is a teacher or someone who has access to people in the community, who has a lot of conversations with people in the community, or if it's just someone in your family or in your neighborhood that you could impact from having that knowledge, to be that empathetic listener who's also observing and realizing, I'm seeing some signs here, and this person needs help, and having those tools of how can I help?
Yeah.
Because that is such a helpless feeling.
Yeah, and one of the examples I give in the course is, if I walked in here and just collapsed or came in here with a broken leg, there would be first responders with, people that are ready to help, or someone calling 911. The difference with mental health is I could walk in this room thinking about how I'm going to take my life in 10 minutes and you wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. Yeah.
So when you have people that are observant and know the signs and symptoms, that's when we can really say we can make a difference. And so for us giving this training, it's almost like, creating more Gabis and AJs to do the work. Because it's not, we're not enough.
It takes a village, right? You gotta teach people how to fish, right? So that you could show them how to be able to do it and go through that, but to be able to teach them so they could do it on their own, and then to share it with others is a beautiful thing. That with time, it shapes our communities.
It's kind of like for warfare almost for me. Like, we're building an army. Like,
Yes.
suicide and mental health is fighting us, right? Like, it's been taking us down. So we need to build an army to fight back. Create soldiers underneath us, have our own just unit, and that's what I envision. Like she said, creating more Gabis and AJs out there, because we can't be everywhere.
So let's talk about
training is for people that help youth or have youth 12 to 18 years old. But if you think about it, we usually want mental health problems to be addressed by health professionals, by mental health professionals too. And that's one of the things we say, you don't have to be a professional to be a support system.
Correct.
So think about all the people that touch children and youth in this age. We're talking about coaches and Sunday school teachers and just volunteers. A lot of people that can be that first response, can be that, help for crisis. And In our trainings, what we do after is we're creating a community of trained first aiders. So when we go to events like our presentations, community presentations, we have people that are ready to address any crisis. Because we want to make sure that, if someone's triggered by something or are emotionally in crisis, even at our events, that we would have, hey, there's Diana, you can go and talk to Diana. That support system, that they're not alone. And, trained professionals are there, but then there's a lot of people that have, sadly, a bad experience. And so when we can, as a community, just remind them, yes, you can trust a therapist.
Yep.
You can shop around. That's another thing.
There's different types of therapy.
Yeah. So some people just try one therapist or had a bad experience and they never want to get the help. And so I think for us is, being that person to push others into getting help kind of has to start with you and with your family, with teachers that are noticing these signs within students. Because I'm sure teachers, because they've told us, they're overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed.
So yeah, you talked about crisis, and I want you to kind of go in more what is a crisis? What would be? You said it if you had a broken leg, people are here and are surrounding you. Are you okay? Are you okay? But you don't know when it comes to the mental health piece. So can you describe to us and then to our audience what is a crisis and what can that look like?
Yeah. So there are two different things that you would look at, and so signs, so something you can see on the outside. But the harder part is, so signs I'm going to go into a little bit more, if you're not taking care of yourself, even not getting a haircut, not showering, not eating, isolating yourself, those are signs. Those are things that I can tell you, Jason, I've noticed that you're not taking care of yourself, or I noticed that you're late. Those are, things I can see. But symptoms are something you're feeling that you're going to share with me about. So symptoms like crying, like stomach ache, like headaches, all these things that I don't see on the inside. So I think the way to know when someone is in a crisis is when these signs and symptoms are affecting their life, their daily life, how long it's been happening, how it's affecting them every day. And I can use myself as an example. I lost a lot of weight. I was really struggling. I isolated myself. I was only doing as much as was necessary. And if you went to visit my house, my house was a mess. I literally just made sure my kids were fed, and I would come home and just crawl back in bed. And so those were the signs. And, when I shared with people how I was feeling, sadly, they were like, it's okay, you're going to be fine. And everything's going to be okay. You're so young, you're so beautiful, but I wanted someone to listen about what I was feeling on the inside. So a crisis can mean, I guess what I would say, a crisis can be different for people, but you'll notice when someone is going through something, but the first step is to notice them when something is not happening. Yeah. I read something that said as parents, we're losing our children in their bedrooms. I have parents that have brought their kids to us, and they're like, I haven't had dinner with them in 6 months. Oh, wow. So how are you going to know that what signs and symptoms are occurring in their life if you haven't even had a conversation, And so signs and symptoms could mean a lot of things, but I would say that when there's that balance, and now that person is not in that balance that they typically are, that's when you start asking. Yeah. And you won't know what's a crisis sometimes. Sometimes you could say, I didn't know, but if we don't talk to that person directly, if we don't look into that person and say, what is really happening? Yeah. How many times do we not walk past each other and say, how are you, Monica? Good. How many times can I leave a comment on your post? How many times can I like your post enough? And you're still not feeling noticed. Yeah. So it really does, I would say, going back to starting at home. A crisis at home could be them not going to class, not eating or eating too much, isolating themselves from their friends and not replacing, activities they like with activities, So it's just a lot, but like I was saying, it's really looking into people and noticing, hey, you don't look the same in the last week.
To her point on that, it's
okay.
actually knowing that person, right? You can't just tell a crisis all of a sudden like just from a random person, right? That's a little bit more difficult. It's more starting with engaging who they are, because like she said, a crisis is as different as everybody is different from each other. Like it's tailored. That crisis is tailored to that person. So if that person is more often a reclusive, right, and they're like in their room, it's like a part of their life, they're healthy that way, but all of a sudden they're maybe changing that to where they're going out, but it's in a destructive way. Like it's just there's variables. So like she said, to her point, it's starting to know that person and understand that there is a change, a severe change, and how long that change lasts. And it's, again, like they worked out, right, and all of a sudden they're not working out, but this is going on for a long period of time. Like it's not just a few days, it's like a week, 2 weeks. You're not changing, you're not adding any habits. Your eyes are deteriorating. Like your speech pattern is different. Like you're speaking a lot faster than you were before. That's signs of an erratic mind. And there's just, again, it's dependent on the person.
You're working through.
So a lot of the work starts with actually getting to know the person before, hopefully, this crisis. So if there is a crisis, you're aware of changes and you're able to kind of get on it, like, oh, I that's not you. Like, even if it's not something super severe right away, it's always good to just start, hey, I just noticed this, like, how are you doing? Like, it might not necessarily actually be a crisis thing, and they might just be like, oh, well, I'm not feeling good, and then you guys have that conversation, and boom, prevention right there. So it's always again just being aware of that person and the changes, because it's so unique that we can't just be like, here's signs, list them. Because
signs could be like, you could be going through.
Could be different for everybody, I would think, too, right?
You could eat something bad and you have stomach flu, but that same sign, stomach pain, could be anxiety in a 6-year-old. It starts at 6 years of age. But one thing that we tell people, after you've assessed the situation and you've talked to people non-judgmentally, and you might have to do that a few times, the way that you know if there's a crisis, like, and we ultimately think crisis is like suicide, right? The way to know if that is existing in somebody's mind is by asking them, are you thinking about killing yourself? And going on to the next question, have you thought about how you would kill yourself? Have you made any plan? That's how you're really going to know if there's a crisis. But we're scared to ask that question. So we even practice it in the training. We say practice with the other person, asking that question, because it is a hard one. But like I said, a crisis is when it really is affecting someone's daily life, when you're noticing that they're not going to work, that they're showing up for work late all the time. Because I had that problem, and I remember that, my supervisor at one point, she was like, what's going on? And that, Paola, who I love and I thank so much for at the hospital, she like, I feel like she was, a lot of my coworkers were like my second mom, but they were like, she sat down with me and said, are you okay? Like, you're showing up for work late, like things that I would maybe just get written up for. She was like,
talk to me.
Talking to me, So that's beautiful. That's really ultimately what it comes down to.
So I hear you guys saying a lot of great things, but I hear two things: seek to understand, and to not be judgmental, and just to understand everybody goes through something, and so to seek to understand. If you see something in a friend or in a family member, dive in. Maybe go slow with it, and let them know and earn that trust. I would think is a part of it, right? Like, let them know that you're here for you and that you want what's best for them. Because when people are going through that, like that's hard. And to talk about it, especially if you came from an environment that's like, oh no, don't talk about it, is even harder. But it's important to talk to somebody, because it could save your life. And when you overcome that, maybe you could save somebody else's life, right?
And I would like to point out on the self-care, right? Even for our first aiders, we say it all starts with you. You have to wear a mask before you can help anyone else. So it starts with you. Like, even after our training, we say assess yourself for how you're gonna support someone, and if you're ready, and if you can be that person, because sometimes you're not going to be that person. And one thing we always tell people too is, don't make a promise of I'll be there all the time. Please call me. I'm always going to be there, because you don't want to be that last lifeline for someone and then you don't pick up the phone. So just be realistic first. Can you be that support system? How far can you support them? And one thing that helped me when I was reaching out for help, like, even simple things like scheduling an appointment with my therapist, I carried her card for like a month, and you know, I'm so glad this lady came up to me in a church group and said, you should really like reach out to Terry and get her help, you know, because for me it was so hard to make that appointment.
Yeah, to make that.
I was like, I'm not crazy. Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm not crazy.
You'll
like,
tell yourself
you know?
that over and over and over
Yes.
again when you're going through that, because that's easier than actually putting in that work, right? Yeah.
And so I tell parents that, especially that they have 18-year-olds or after 18 in this country, you're now an adult. So even things like you're now an adult, make your own appointments, go to the therapist, go on a walk, all those things we expect people to do. But when you're feeling so down and depressed, you're not going to do it.
And anxious.
Like,
if you're anxious, or I mean, obviously depression is right along with it. It's the last thing. Making that call could just ruin your day, and or not even ruin your day. It's just going to stay with you, and you're never going to make that call. It's just going to be dangling there because that call is hard.
Yeah. We sit with parents and we make phone calls for them so they could, you know, this is the first time they're asking for help from their insurance, and sadly we get these. You know, they have like a number, and then you're on wait for a while, and then they come back and tell you we're not taking new patients. That could be just like devastating for a family. So it's like being there to support someone could be, let's sit down and make that appointment. Or instead of saying, go to the gym, working out helps, go for a 30-minute walk with them.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, even, you know, I used to like not eat, you know, or I would, either I was like not eating or I was eating a lot, and then, you know, that, you know, being unhealthy. So for me, it was like even sitting down at the table with your family can really, you'll be able to see and have a conversation with someone rather than come and eat, and if they say no, and then, you know, or go and hang out with people. You actually make the intention to hang out with them, to invite them to your table. Here's some food, let's eat together. You know, that it's going that extra mile that's going to make a difference.
You want to lead by example. Like you want to tell people to get healthy and be healthy, but if you yourself can't demonstrate that to somebody, how do you expect them to know? Because one of the things that we deal with as humans is you know what you know and you don't know what you don't know, right? So like you could tell somebody to go to the gym, but do they know how to work out? Do they know how to get involved with that? That might be one of the
I know how to go to the gym.
You know what I'm saying? But do you know like what to lift? You know what works for you? Like that to me was overwhelming before.
It's the community aspect of it too.
Exactly.
You know, for me, the gym was cycling, and the cycling built up community of real talk, and that real talk was like made me look in, which hurt, but through the community of it, and through people that came to me and were like, "Are you all right? Or can you do this? Can you, or, you know, what do you need, man? Like, or why are you putting so much pressure on yourself, or whatever it was, you know?" But that community of people that you could trust, to me, is a big part of it. And I'm not naive to know that everybody doesn't have a community, but what I would challenge you on is find a community, because we're all going through something. So just make one step. Don't think about the whole picture. Just take one step forward towards that, and towards and getting your mind right, and knowing that it's a journey. Like, this doesn't happen overnight. But
and I think you guys have hit on so many amazing points here, you know, and one thing that you've kind of touched on is like everybody's depression is different.
For sure.
You know, I mean, whether it's because I can completely relate to just holing up and just I'm in bed all day and I can't function. That's a reality for me when I'm in that dark place. And I know for other people it's eating disorders, or it's just completely isolating.
Drug and alcohol abuse. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yes, the list goes on. So it's like the core of it is just it's those feelings that are human feelings. It's like, and it's okay. It's okay to feel those feelings. And and I'm sorry for crying, but it's okay. And when you have somebody in your life that you love, that you just want to help, it's important to not be afraid to go there and to be there with that person. And you can't force somebody. Like if you have someone with an eating disorder, you can't force them to eat. You can't force them to not experience bulimia, let's just say. You can't force it, but you can be there, and you can see that person and make sure that they remember that they matter,
Show
and that
love.
their being on this planet is important.
And it might take a while, like you were saying, and you know what, I can't say this enough. It's letting people know they matter. You know, we've looked at all the cases that we've had, all the families and youth that we've worked with, and it all comes down to one similar thing: is not belonging. You know, even youth, like
That's what we're all yearning for. Like
the youngest crisis we've had is a 10-year-old, and so it's like, how is the 10-year-old thinking that it's better not to be here and take my life?
Gosh.
And once we've talked to her, it's that feeling of not belonging at home. You know, when you have parents that are going through a divorce, or you got turmoil happening at home and you're alone, you don't belong. Or you're at school and you're being bullied and you don't belong, you know. Or you got a new job and there's even like adult bullying and isolation within, you know, adult jobs.
Belonging is so important.
Belonging is so important.
Because it's like
game
community.
changer.
Yeah. Like we talked about the duality of things, right? Like double-edged swords. Community is great, but if you don't feel like you belong, that's a problem.
That's
like
huge,
if your community doesn't involve you or doesn't know how to get you involved, or you don't know what community you feel like you're a part of, then again, I feel like that's where we start to feel like the lack of belonging, we need community. That's why I'm so adamant on talking about community and why we need to work together and why doing things and asking for help is important, because that lack of belonging is one of the most painful things I've ever felt in my life. It's just feeling like I can't ask for help because you guys don't understand me. I don't feel like I'm supposed to be either here, there, or anywhere. So where am I supposed to be? And then it gets you to that, you get in that tunnel vision. That's why I see a lot of people struggle with, is tunnel vision on what you know, that you keep going through what you know, and sometimes you need to get outside of that and figure out new things and learn new things to grow that perspective and to get out of that tunnel and realize that there's more in front of you, to the side of you, behind you. You don't have to just go through this one path. Like there's several paths.
And that you're not alone, you know? So
Exactly.
that to me, that community and belonging is like the key. I think it's the key to life. And as I get older, realizing when you feel like you're a part of something, and you feel like you could be like your real self, it's a game changer. And in our society, we're not always, that door isn't always open. My hope as we continue to move forward, that we learn from our past and that we can improve it for future generations and for our current generation as we continue to live out this life, guys. We could talk all day about these things, and if I'm a gut person and intuition person, so I'm gonna go with my gut and say this is not the last time that our Love Local Chicagoland audience will get to meet you and get to know you guys and what you're doing. I want a couple more things before we wrap up, but first off, like, how can people help you? Like what's going on right now? What do you have coming on that the community could back you up?
Well, we can, of course, I think our events, like we talk about our trainings, those are important. We will have a website being pushed out. We have our social media that we'll push out our trainings on and all of our events coming up. So just getting people there is probably one of the biggest
community
things.
Is what
to
I hear
create
you
community,
saying.
I mean, we got to build that army somehow, right? And if we don't train our soldiers, we're not going to be able to win this war. So for us, it's just bringing people in to spread the message. And even if they don't, overall get a training or whatever the case may be, they have a knowledge of what we do, and they can spread that to other people. So for me, that's one of the biggest things. Donations is another one. Of course, we have a link set up to donate, and we could send that to anybody who needs that as well. And what else would you say they can help us with?
Well, you know what, AJ pretty much hit on all of them. Share. Even if you can't make it, you never know who might be needing that resource, so share stuff. And donations, when it comes to donations, obviously as a new grassroots organization, everything costs money, from marketing to a website to merch. Like we just started, so donations go towards that, and also donations help cover when there are adults that need to take the training that can't pay for it. We don't want money to be a reason why they don't get education.
For sure.
Also, I believe that sponsors or like community partners are very important, because they're going to reach to people in their community we may not reach out to. So any businesses out there that want to sponsor an event, like help us host a community event, like the Hope After the Darkness community event is in partnership with the Elgin Police Department and their crisis, community relations and crisis prevention unit. So it's a whole like department and community coming together and offering this free educational event to the community. So again, I believe that together we can reach more, together we can make a bigger impact. So if there's anyone out there that also may be struggling, the way you can help is by knowing that you're not alone and reaching out for help. That's the way you can help your family and your community, by just knowing that you getting the help that you need, you're going to be able to make a difference in your life and the lives of others. So don't underestimate the power you have to get help within yourself.
That's beautiful.
Amen. Inspire people.
And the fact that you guys carry so much, you know, with all of it, you guys are leading the way. You're leading this charge to stand up and to say this. You are brave and courageous, and my God, the community is better because of you and what you're doing, and all of the beautiful lights that you're shining, that you're helping to shine the light on in the community. All these people, I'm stumbling on my words because I'm a hot mess right now. But the bottom line is that the work you're doing is so beautiful. It is heavy, and so the more community support that you have, the better NHSPN will be.
Thank you so much. And we're so grateful that we have a new board. We have our group of ambassadors that are helping us, you know, get this off the ground. But you're right, it's heavy. It's also hard because I never knew I'd be running a business and a non-for-profit at the same time, apart from my job. And so we are very grateful for the help that we've gotten up to this point as well. Just even having Diana, our intern, she's with the Adler University getting her master's to be a social worker. Even having her around is really awesome. She's helping us with the parent support group. And so even if there's an opportunity for interns that want to be involved in this work and learn more on what it takes to do this, we invite them as well.
Please hit us up with that. We could use more help because, like you said, it is heavy, and that's the whole reason of building a community, because we don't have to bear it alone. We're not alone in this, so I'm really excited.
We're in this together, right?
Exactly.
I mean, at the end of the day, especially as local community members, like it impacts us all in one way or another. Mental health impacts us all.
All of us.
So if we could make it more transparent and real, and then build communities around it, and each of us build our own individual communities that help us become our best selves, and so that we could thrive and uplift others.
Our own support groups, man. Our own support
life's
systems.
about.
100%. And I just want to thank you guys, all you guys, because I didn't even think I'd be here. Like, in life in general, I didn't think I'd live this long at times. And it felt that hard, and it's amazing to feel like I have that now, that where I can see myself being older now, and I can see myself doing things in life, and I just want to give that to other people. So that's what matters, is the fact that it's possible. To get out of that darkness and out of that tunnel is possible.
It's possible. It takes work, but it is 100% possible. And, when
I did not do it alone.
Joy, it's fun.
I did not do it alone.
So,
we know the hardest part with this topic is also just bringing it up, and we have one of our core services. We say it's break the silence, right? There are two things that affect suicide prevention. One is silence, and the other one is stigma. So if there's an opportunity for us to go into established communities already within a business or a church where we could share our story and take the message of encouragement and hope, into a place, then that would also allow us to continue doing the work just by the opportunity of sharing the message. So that's another way that people can help us, by breaking the silence within their community
and letting you in.
And letting us or other people that want to share, about this topic in, because we've seen it. We've had people say, oh, no, we don't want to talk about that here. We've had people schedule us and then they cancel on us. And it's like, what's, and it's okay. It might be fear. It might be, what are we going to do if something surfaces or comes up, But, again, there are professionals like us or other people that if you know there's a resource, just allow it in. Just even allowing it in within your workplace, allowing the conversation to exist really can matter and make a difference.
Yeah, definitely can. Well, I appreciate you guys being on today.
Thank you.
We're not quite done yet. Your local plans. What are you doing this weekend? Where should people go that is maybe one of your favorite joints, things to do in the community?
Besides Joy Teriyaki, of course.
we already know you love there.
As we already discussed that.
My local plans is sit down there in front
my
in a chair, eating lunch, breakfast, and dinner.
My local plans is to go over there and see how I can get that food for free.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm just kidding. Probably go to the comic book store. I'm a big advocate, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Superheroes are one of my favorite things, if not my favorite. So probably go to the comic book store. I got to pick up some Daredevil comics. I got to finish an issue. So
Is
probably
there a certain comic store you go to? Like
there's
go-to?
Thunder Comics in Bartlett that I really enjoy, and then also Keith Comics in Schaumburg. Those two are like probably my favorite spots to go to. Really good people in there.
Beautiful.
Really
Thanks
nice
for sharing.
people.
My son will love comics. I don't think he knows about them yet, but he should. All right.
I'll slide you the
son
cards.
loves
All right, there you go. How about you, Gabby?
A couple months ago, I realized that I wasn't taking care of myself, and again, I want to advocate for self-care. So one of my favorite places I wake up just excited to go there is Mireya's Dance Fit Studio in Palatine. I take Zumba there every morning, and she's, I get my smoothie. She's got healthy waffles and donuts and all these healthy things, but she's got such an amazing community of women and men from all walks of life, because we're all different colors and all different types of people in there. But it's so fun, and I love it. So, again, please take care of yourself. Do something that gets you up every day that you love. And if you take care of yourself, you can really impact those relationships you have around you. Yeah. So, Mireya's Dance Fit Studio in Palatine on Quinton and Northwest Highway. You have to go to see just the energy in that room, and
you will have
fun.
No energy afterwards. That Zumba is hard, man.
It is hard, but it's so fun. I love it. So thank you, Mireya, because she's brought a little light into my life. I really needed that.
It's so important.
So important, yes.
I know Monica feels the same way. We're grateful for your guys' courage, for your vulnerability, and for the real talk.
Thank you so much.
Our community needs more of this in order to help uplift other people within our community. If people want to follow you, social media, good place to go. Visit your website.
Yes, nhspn.com, and then I'm on gavivargas.poema, and then NHSPN official.
That's it. And then I'm poemastudio.aj. That's the boy. I got rid of a lot of social media because I just didn't like it. Like, for me personally, that was my healing. I prefer
nothing wrong
we'll
with that.
post what do I have to do for work, and then after that, I'm just going to relax and spend time for myself. So, poemastudio.aj, though, if you want to hit me up.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And your music.
Shout out Lousy, capital L, and then lowercase OU $Y at SoundCloud. It's the one with the Saturn logo on it. Shout out. Check it out. All
right. That's our first, somebody dropped their album.
I
on
know.
here.
I love it.
That's a first.
I'll be dropping a mixtape hopefully August. I'll drop it. So
mixtape. Now that's some real
That'll
shit
be
right there.
fun.
All right.
And then the first Friday of every month in the summer, we're at the Elgin Farmers Market with our drumming circle.
Awesome.
Around between 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. we'll be playing there. So
come out.
So that starts when, in June?
June.
Okay.
Yeah. June, July, August.
It's gonna be
we'll
fun.
have other dates, but every first Friday we will be there.
Perfect.
Cool.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Monica, it's been fun.
Yeah.
So we both got a little teary-eyed, which is kind of normal.
I can't even help myself.
It's all right. Nothing wrong with it. But my friends, we're on this journey to help amplify the voices that need to be amplified to create an impact in our community. And we hope that you see that. We hope that you feel that in every piece of content that we make, because we believe we are stronger together as a community. But in order to be stronger together, we got to get real first, and we got to be able to help each other grow with a lot of grace and love. But we love what we're doing with this Love Local Chicagoland podcast, and we look forward to the next one. I'm gonna go old school here, and I'm gonna go support local, love local, and we're stronger together.
You matter.